So Donald keeps on repeating this lie that they've given $100 million to Hamas for condoms. $100 million to Hamas for condoms.
Outcomes in Asia. Asia got a lot of money. $50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. They gave $50 million. It worked out so well, they gave another $50 million a little bit later. Condoms, $100 million for Hamas.
So this started out as there's a press conference, and I forget who the new press chief is, but the press conference, she was talking about how, there's all this wasteful spending with USAID, and $50 million for condoms for Gaza is what she said. And then it comes to find out they were actually talking about Gaza, Mozambique. They had confronted Elon Musk while he was at the White House when he was sitting next to Donald Trump. And he had said still, you should point him out. If he does something wrong, nobody bats 1,000, right? That's what Elon had said. Nobody bats 1,000. And then the discrepancy, the mistake was it wasn't, Gaza, Palestine. It wasn't Gaza in the Middle East, but it was, Gaza, Mozambique, in Africa. And so it was the name of the province is Gaza province in Mozambique. And then Elon even made a joke later on saying, well, that is still like an ungodly amount of condoms, $50 million for condoms in Mozambique. Well, the whole idea is to prevent AIDS, so it's to help prevent AIDS. And so, the Reagan administration, they were notorious. That's when AIDS came about, and they didn't do a damn thing about AIDS. So, AIDS is, is a sexually transmitted disease, but it was being it was just, they were saying only the gay folks were getting AIDS, but everybody could get AIDS. And so having condoms, that saves men, that saves women. You don't want AIDS, spreading all over the place. That's not going to help. You think you're going to start a fire in the neighborhood and somehow eventually that fire doesn't get to you. I mean, look at LA, right? You got a fire out in the middle of the woods and then pretty soon the entire damn city's on fire. So I don't know why he's pushing this. I went ahead and just checked it on Grok, and Grok went ahead and, pointed out what's going on. So, no Hamas. I mean, right now, they're the ones that, according to the administration, right? Well, anyways, Hamas did not receive $100 million from America for condoms. This claim originated from a series of misstatements and exaggerations that have been widely debunked. Here's the breakdown. The rumor comes from the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, January 2025, saying that $50 million of taxpayer funds were earmarked for condoms in Gaza. It was later linked to Hamas by former President Trump. So the current president, Trump then escalated the figure to $100 million in subsequent statements. The president, though, is it legitimate? The 14th Amendment says if you do an insurrection against our government, then you don't get to be in office. But that's part of the Constitution. That's part of the Bill of Rights, That's like birthright citizenship. That's like two-term presidencies, Trump then escalated the figure to $100 million in subsequent statements, and then said not only is it for Hamas to purchase condoms, but also for them to make explosive devices, makeshift, so they're turning condoms into bombs. I don't know how many more times, this lie is just so blatant and obvious, and in a way, thank goodness it's so blatant and obvious, because you could point out to it and say, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. And he was known for doing the big lie, right, when it came to they stole the election, but he knew that he had lost. He had admitted on Theo Vaughn's show, I think. I forget which show, but he said that he lost by a hair. No, it was that one Ukrainian guy. What's his name? I forget his name. But he said he lost by Lex Friedman. On the Lex Friedman, podcast, he said he lost just barely by a hair or something like that. So that means Donald knew. Donald knew that he lost and told everybody that stop the steal, and then he gets to that Capitol speech and encouraged everybody, and then he's also asking people to steal votes in Georgia. January 6th was a big deal for several reasons. You had Fidel Castro, you had Hugo Chavez, you've had Adolf Hitler. They all tried to violently take over the government, and then they lost, right, when they tried to violently take over the government, but then they came back later and they won their election. And so the historical lesson is, if you try to violently overtake the government, you might lose then, but later on you'll get elected, and then you'll get to be the president forever. He even implied Hamas might use them for bombs, inflated condoms as balloons to launch incendiaries into Israel. Investigations, clarifications show no evidence to support these claims. He says they weren't intended for Gaza. Hamas, the money was part of the USAID program directed to Gaza province in Mozambique to combat HIV through contraceptive distribution, not the Palestinian Gaza Strip. So Donald was right there when Elon had, did that little press briefing. That was when Elon's son, his son's name is X, which that's incredible too. Which, should we ask him just how do you pronounce Elon's son's name? But he had told Donald, he says, you need to shut your mouth. You need to shut your fucking mouth, he said. And then he says, you're not the president, you need to leave. How do you pronounce Elon Musk's son's X name? He's named X, whatever this little symbol is, A12. And so they're saying it's a unique name, sparked curiosity. Here's how it's pronounced. X is simply the letter X. And then this AE thing is pronounced ash. As in the sound of the letter combo. And aesthetic, well, that's aesthetic. That doesn't help at all. Because AE and aesthetic doesn't sound like ash. Aesthetic. Well, do you want to know the aesthetic? I'll tell you the aesthetic of the situation. Reading books, it's aesthetically pleasing. I've heard reading books is aesthetically it's not aesthetically anyways. So we'll just go with X ash. I heard somebody say some other way to pronounce it too. So it's roughly X ash A12. X and A12 I get. I don't understand how to pronounce, AE. And is that his first name, middle name, last name? He's not Musk. XA12. Suggesting it's like a variable. It's slightly fluid. They've been known to call him X for short and casual settings. There's no single official way it's enforced. More of a creative guideline from the parents. Okay, anyways. His kid X, that was the same press conference when he was telling, Donald to shut his mouth and that he wasn't the president. So maybe Donald wasn't paying attention because you had this very young dissident in the White House, in the Oval Office, telling him that he wasn't the damn president. So he wasn't listening to Elon's answer. But Elon made a joke, so that's why I remember this. So he's not even listening to Elon. He's doubling down. He just said this, at this conference, which was yesterday at the governor's conference. So he's doubling down on lies. I guess my worry is, what about those lies that aren't crystally clearly a lie? If he fudges a lie, if he, tries to say something isn't something, but it kind of is, but it kind of isn't, well then there's a gray area. His lies might win the day. His lies might win the day. Now there is something here. It says that they did get Palestine. They do get some money. The International Medical Corps. So that's not Palestine, but it's USAID for medical services in Gaza. What is the International Medical Corps? We'll take a look at that. See if we can find out what that is. The International Medical Corps is what? We'll say, who is the International Medical Corps? It's a global non-profit humanitarian organization founded in 1984 by Dr. Robert Simon, headquartered in LA, and it serves 30 countries. So it's not just, Hamas or Gaza or Palestine or Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. The $100 million figure appears to be an unsubstantiated doubling of the original $50 million claim, with which itself lacked evidence. Fact checks from multiple sources, Snopes, CNN, the Associated Press, have labeled this a lie, often tied to political rhetoric rather than reality. While U.S. aid has historically included contraceptions and family planning aid worldwide, no records show such allocations specifically for Hamas or Gaza and the amounts claimed. There is the famous Griswold case, Griswold v. Connecticut. And so when it comes to pro-life, people are saying, not even contraceptions. You're not even allowed to have contraception. If you're not having sex for just procreational reasons, well, then you shouldn't be having sex at all. And so they'll even go after, in vitro fertilization and contraception. Donald has said that he's not against those things and that he's not for a nationwide abortion ban as well. So, Griswold v. Connecticut is important for other reasons, but basically it just says for all the civil liberties that are protected under the Bill of Rights, you get all the associated freedoms to enforce that freedom. So say, take a right to petition. You have a right to petition. So that means you have a right to gather signatures, and you have a right to take those signatures that you gathered and turn them into the government. So whatever freedom is associated with, the right to petition, you get all those freedoms that would be associated with it in order to get it effectuated. So stop lying, Donald. God damn it. We're in the fucking post-truth era. This is the post-truth era. We need our goddamn president telling the motherfucking truth. We need our president to tell the motherfucking truth. Yeah, we know you got an agenda. We know you're a political partisan hack. We know this. We know this. But you're not in campaign mode anymore. You're in president mode. And so, try to be the best damn president that you can be. We need to know the damn truth. We need the unfiltered, the unvarnished truth. You need to do the COVID testing so we know if there's COVID problems or not. He's the one that said if you don't do the testing, well then you won't know about it, so therefore it won't look bad. We don't need PR. We don't need you to sweep shit under the rug. We need to tell us the damn truth. You need to know the facts on the ground. You need to know the truth. You can't build a house, on sand. So you need a firm foundation of truth to begin with. So that way you know if there are problems that need to be solved or there is no problem that needs to be solved. You don't need to bullshit us. $100 fucking million. $100 fucking million for Hamas. Are you fucking kidding me?